digital footprints beyond life, a blueprint for safeguarding your digital afterlife. You don't own your online accounts. You do not own them. So we have to be aware of what we need to do to protect them as best we can. You're licensing the rights. How much of my life is lived online, or how much of my life is lived and tracked in social media? And what happens to my accounts or my followers? Maybe you're an influencer, you have a lot of followers. What happens if I become incapacitated? And of course, what happens when I die? We're going to talk about what is a digital executor, digital power of attorney. How do you designate that person in that role? What do you need to do? Because that's really, really important. How do you track and login and password information? I'm going to talk about why that's so important. It's not just about naming someone in your documents. And then I'm going to do a deep dive into key social media platforms. The best advice we can give is just don't die, and definitely don't lose your password or passwords. A blueprint for safeguarding your digital afterlife. What is a digital executor, or what is a digital power of attorney? There are new laws in California that allow you to name a digital executor or to give access. There's a new law that was passed just a few years ago. It grants the person naming your documents the ability to work with tech companies to get access to your online accounts. So you definitely want to do your best to name someone in these documents. The key here is you need up-to-date documents. You need documents that address these specific rules. There are many reasons you need to talk to us to update it, but one of those reasons is to make sure that your documents address digital assets and online account access. So a digital executor is a person designated to manage and distribute someone's digital assets in the event of their incapacity or death. And now in California, we have the Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act, the RUFADAA. And this is legislation that California adopted just a few years ago that allows Californians to name an agent who can disclose information like account passwords to a designated beneficiary, and can even transfer control of digital assets like a Bitcoin wallet to a named heir. Now, we're not talking about cryptocurrency today. It's not as simple as just hoping for the best. That's not a good thing. So you have to make sure that your estate planning documents, and this is actually should be your will, your trust, and your power of attorney, that they refer to the Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act, the RUFADAA, and your durable power of attorney for finances should also cover this. Your will, your living trust, and whenever you prepare a living trust, you should have a living trust, not just a will. So your trust directs where your assets go. It can avoid the courts. A will is there just to cover assets that can't really be titled in a trust. It says, hey, these assets should go in my trust. It's called a pour over will. But that's also where we want to address this, because digital assets you can't really title in your trust. It's very challenging and painful to work with tech companies to try to get access to someone's account after they pass away. When you're alive, let's say you're out of it and someone needs to get access to your account. Well, that's where your durable power of attorney for finances comes in. Because again, your will only comes in after you pass away. So if you're incapacitated for a while and you haven't given your named representative information about how to access your accounts, well, they need to make sure that you have the right language in your durable power of attorney that addresses digital accounts. And they can use that, in theory, go to tech companies and get some access. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than not having that. So if it's been a while since you updated your documents, talk to us. Gilfix.com, we can help make sure your overall estate plan is put into place. We can make sure that we have the right language in your documents. And without this, it can be an absolute nightmare for someone you name to access your online accounts or get access or help you out. It can be a huge pain. So we want to make sure you're really well set up. So of course, contact us if you have questions, but make sure that you have this language in your documents. And if you've done it in the last couple of years with us, that language is there. The blueprint for safeguarding your digital afterlife, the critical importance of keeping track of login and password information. Now, this is a really tricky area because we're all worried about getting hacked, right? We are all worried about bad actors getting access to accounts. It happens to sophisticated people. We have very sophisticated clients who've gotten hacked, and we see stories in the news all the time about that. If our loved ones and our named agents, you need a core estate plan. You need a revocable living trust, a durable power of attorney, as part of your financial estate plan. In both your living trust and your power of attorney, if you're out of it, you are authorizing a legal representative to step in. The trust allows them to manage your major assets. The power of attorney lets them manage your day-to-day financial assets. But how are they going to deal with your online accounts? So what we recommend is that you have a way for the people named to know how to get access to your accounts. Now, This is a gray area legally. So I don't want to encourage anybody to violate the terms of service with an online tech company. But just to say, the reality is, if you're out of it, your loved ones and people you trust should have access to log in emergencies. Because think about how many bank accounts go through your Gmail account or your Yahoo Mail account or whatever it is. So regardless, again, of the legal documents you have, it's so important to keep track. This is for you too, by the way. It's not just for the named agents. We all should keep track of this. This is not a high priority for tech companies to help out authorized representatives to get access to accounts. Ideally, give them access ahead of time. So why is it important? Because again, what if you're incapacitated? Who's going to step in and manage? What if you have a big social media based business? And what if you're an Instagram influencer or you have a bunch of followers on LinkedIn? You don't want that account to just go dark or go unupdated for a while. You don't want people to miss out, or you don't want to miss out on potential inbound opportunities if someone's contacting you. There's so many reasons why it's so important to keep what we call a digital inventory. 4 steps to keep your digital and social media inventory. Create a list. This does not have to include any sensitive information. Go through all your accounts. What email accounts do you have? What social media accounts do you have? What cloud storage accounts do you have? What online banking accounts do you have? Banking is a little different in the sense that if you have a good durable power of attorney for finances and you're out of it, the person you name, they can work with a bank to get access. They don't need online access. But cloud storage, social media, email, you got to make sure that you have track of this. So if you're out of it, and certainly after you pass away, someone you trust or you named in your legal documents can get access. Well, there's some definite wrong ways to do this. The wrong way is to store it in just an online document. You don't want it to be so if a hacker gets access to one account or your email, that they can get access to all your login information, because then you've given them the keys to the kingdom. I've seen some stories recently about how dangerous it is if someone steals your iPhone and they get your 4 to 6 digit code to get in. If they know what they're doing, they can really quickly change all of your accounts and lock you out. One way to save your login and password information, I'll share the slide again in a second, is you simply keep physical copies. You handwrite it down, or you type it down and print it out and delete the document, and you keep it in a super safe place. The downside is you have to update it all the time, and what if the physical copy gets lost? Some other tools that are really interesting now, and password managers, LastPass, 1Password, Dashlane. The good thing there is you just need one access point. So you can keep that just the access to the password manager in a super safe place, in a safe deposit box, or in some other place. The downside is, if someone gets access to that account, again, they have the keys to the kingdom, or somehow they get hacked. I think they're pretty secure, but I have heard stories of some password management companies getting hacked, at least on the crypto side. Be very careful with that, but that might be the best option. Or you can save it as an encrypted file. So kind of similar to LastPass or 1Password, you keep a list that you create and you encrypt that file yourself, and you give your loved ones the ability to access that document. Now, the downside there is, are you keeping that up to date? What if a hacker gets access to that document? But I think the first step is inform your digital executor or the backup trustees how to access these. You need to make sure they know that you have this list and where you're keeping all these passwords or how to access the LastPass or the password manager that you have. Step 4, update these regularly. Change your passwords, of course, regularly. Update the list as you open and close accounts, as you change passwords. Bitwarden, 1Password, LastPass, Dashlane. These are by no means the only programs available for this. There are other password managers. These are just a few that I was able to find some information about. They all have ways where you can automatically designate emergency contacts or share information with trusted family members when you set up the account. So Bitwarden, you can designate a contact for the Bitwarden vault and decide the access level and emergency access. 1Password, you can create a family account with up to 5 family members. You can share log information, credentials with family members. You can store physical and digital copies of emergency kits with account information there. LastPass has an emergency access designation, a contact who can request access to your passwords after you die. There's something nice. I don't know much about the LastPass tool, but there's something nice if you say, hey, look, this person, if they show proof that they were named in my documents, my power of attorney, my trust, then work with them on this. Because then there's another layer of security. They have to show legal documents to get access. Dashlane, you can create a secure note with credentials and share that later. We really have to make sure that all of our online accounts are tracked, that again, you have language for digital assets in your power of attorney and your living trust. But that gives people access in emergencies. It's also crucial to make sure your successor trustees, the people named your durable power of attorney document as well, that they know where to find that list of all your online accounts, and that you keep track of login information in a secure way, whether it's a physical copy somewhere, or if it's a super secure online copy with login needed, or through a password manager. This all needs to be part of your comprehensive estate plan. You need to make sure that you have a recently created revocable living trust, recently created durable power of attorney that addresses this, and you have the right people named. Safeguarding your digital afterlife, a deep dive into social media and other key online platforms, what you need to know to make sure that your online accounts at some of the major online providers are as safe as they possibly can be in the event of your incapacity, and certainly upon your passing. Most, well, really all online platforms have policies or processes for the management of your account after you pass away. But I want you to understand something that's really, really important. One, these policies change over time. Everything I'm presenting here is as current as we understand, but these policies can change. New tools emerge, new policies emerge every year or so. It seems like the policies change a little bit. But this will give you a good overview. And really importantly, you do not own your online social media accounts. Just because you have 1 million followers on Instagram or 200,000 followers on TikTok, you can't technically sell that. You technically can't transfer that according to the terms of service, and you really technically can't bequest it to someone. You are licensing the right. You are renting that space. It creates these weird, it's sort of a legal gray area, but it's really important to understand that. And that's why it's so critical to make sure that you have all the right tools in place, and that you have, again, that you've appointed digital executor in your will and your trust, and that your durable power of attorney has language around digital assets. But there are other steps you can take with these online social media accounts that can also provide some further safeguards, and at least make sure that after you're gone, someone can step in and manage them. And you really have to customize these for every account. There's no one size fits all approach to dealing with your digital afterlife. What you can do with Facebook, so you cannot transfer ownership of your Facebook page to someone else. It's technically not allowed. What you can do is you can convert it to a memorialization account, where it sort of gets locked into place as it is, and it says, the language changes to make it clear that it's a memorial account. No new content can really be posted. Other people can, I think, comment on your posts. It's 5 steps that you need to take for Facebook to manage your digital afterlife. So go to settings, privacy, tap settings, go to general profile settings, then you click memorialization settings, then you type in a friend's name. You can choose a friend and you name them as a legacy contact. You click add. I think they are notified via Facebook, but it's a really good idea to tell them as well. Now, very importantly, if you pass away, or if they're notified you've passed away, the legacy contact cannot log into your account. But if you give them permission, they can download a copy of what you shared. They can update your profile just to convert it to a memorial. They can't do other updates, but they can convert it to a memorial, or they can request the removal of your account. So really important step. Now, even if you don't do this, if a family member presents a death certificate to Facebook, there are ways to delete an account. I just want to make a point that if you have an active Facebook page and it's related to your business, you might not want to have loved ones let Facebook know right away that you've passed away. Maybe you want them to keep managing the account. Facebook's not looking that closely to see if you passed away. So that goes back to the importance of keeping that digital inventory, making sure your loved ones have access to accounts. If you have a business that's run through Facebook, if it's a business account, you have to make sure people managing your business have that information. But if it's a personal account where you do a lot of business through it, if you're an influencer on Facebook and you use that to reach out to followers for business opportunities, well, maybe you don't want to let Facebook know that something happened to you. You just want someone to step in and manage it for you. So Facebook, hope this was super helpful. Instagram, even though Instagram is connected to Facebook, they don't really have a tool for legacy contacts. It's kind of odd. Now, if you're a Instagram influencer, you have millions of followers, this is kind of a conundrum. What happens when you pass away if you have millions of followers and hundreds of thousands of followers? Well, it's not really clear. Maybe an argument for not letting Instagram know that you've passed away, let your business associates take it over. And there are cases where Instagram influencers obviously have passed away and they've been converted. So what happens? If you pass away, really just 2 options. Once Instagram knows, and how would they know? Your loved ones or representatives would send them a death certificate or show public records you passed away. 2 options: it can be converted to a memorialization account, or it can be deleted. That's it. It cannot be nothing new can be posted. No one can log into a memorialized account. It's just there. So you'll see there are some memorialized accounts for some celebrities. And there's a Bollywood celebrity with like tens of millions of followers who passed away last year. His account's still up. It just says memorialized. So people can still comment, but no new posts can be put up on Instagram. So Instagram, there aren't really great options here. There are other ways. Now, if it's a business account, it's a little bit different. This wouldn't happen because the business might keep going. Just be careful with Instagram. You need to let your family know your login information, let your digital representatives know, but know that they can't really do much other than converting to a memorialized account or delete. That is Instagram. So just as a side note, if you do have a business that is really run based on your large following on social media, this is why you want to get them on your email list. Really encourage them to get off of these platforms, to follow you, get them to give you their email addresses or other ways. So if your Instagram account gets shut down or something happens to you, your business, your family can take over and still have a relationship with your followers. For Google, it's all about your inactive account manager. So if you don't log into your Google account for 24 months, Google will classify it as inactive. Now, I believe they do not delete the account, but they will delete content if no one steps in for it. But you can decide what happens if your account goes inactive via the inactive account manager. I'm going to give you 3 steps that you need to take, but it's really not that hard. I was able to do that today. So you go to myaccountgoogle.com, you tap data and privacy, and then you scroll down and you go to make a plan for your digital legacy, and you can name contacts and you can designate what happens to your data. You don't log in for many, many months. So I just went to the page earlier today. Google, this is not a high priority, right? They want new users. They want people who are actively paying them. They're not so interested in helping out people's accounts after they pass away, but they'll do it begrudgingly. And you scroll down and go to make a plan for your digital legacy, and you can click on what happens to your data. That's also where you can delete your Google account. Google doesn't want to make that easy, of course. For Google, it's really important to make a plan, to go to this section of the Google website. Sorry, when you're logged into Google, by the way, to go to the data and privacy thing, scroll down to make a plan for your digital legacy. And that's where you can follow some of these options. Really, really important, because otherwise, if nobody accesses your account for 24 months, all your data might be deleted. Also critical, though, to keep track of your Google login information for your trusted agents. So this is if nobody logs in. Now, if you give your representatives the login information, they can step in and manage it. But keep in mind, they can then see all of your emails. They can see everything. You might not want everything to be public, but really important to get this into place. Because again, how many of us do online banking where constantly forget how to log in, and all the information has to come back through Google, your Gmail or your Yahoo Mail, which is a different set of rules to reset the password and get access. So let's make sure that we're all up to date there. And again, for Google, if you're incapacitated but not deceased, so let's say it's not an issue that you have logged in recently, but now you're out of it, you need to make sure that your loved ones have access and they have your login information. But if you don't have a plan, so by the way, if you don't do this and you don't have this inactive account setting, well, your family can contact Google and present, a death certificate and show they have power of attorney or show that they're named in the trust to close your accounts. But much better, again, to plan ahead and name this person in the inactive account manager. Really, really important, but also critical to keep track of your login information in a very secure way, maybe using a password manager where your loved ones have access. So, because technically, again, you cannot leave a Google account to a loved one. Now, what about YouTube, by the way? Basically the same rules, because YouTube is part of Google. So what do you do for YouTube when you pass away? Well, same set of rules. So it can become a legacy account, or it can become an inactive account. It can stay up. But there's a story recently about a YouTube channel, Technoblade, where this young guy had a huge number of followers and super sadly passed away from cancer. And his account got millions of followers right before he passed away, because he was kind of documenting his journey, and that account is still up. It's a bit of a legal gray area where technically YouTube would say, well, the account's over, he passed away. But if other people have the ability to log in, I don't think it's their business to want to shut down popular channels, but it's really, really tricky. So if you are a YouTube influencer or an Instagram influencer, you may want to start side accounts that are in the name of a business. I'm not exploring that here, but that's a way where if something happens to you, well, it's a business that owns the account, so the business managers can step in. But it's a really tricky area. Fun fact, the image on the left is an actual screenshot of the iPhone homepage. It was like this for 9 months, many months. That is me. I was the face of the iPhone homepage for many, many months. And in fact, this is maybe it's a humble brag, I don't know. But when I was in law school, I was doing acting and commercials and some TV stuff on the side. And I booked this commercial, but they flew me up to San Francisco and they didn't tell me anything about it. They just said, it's a product that you cannot tell anybody about this. And they didn't even tell me it was for Apple until the morning of. The first person online using Siri was me, my small piece of Siri history, and I was the face of the iPhone homepage. So Apple has legacy contacts. If you're incapacitated, your trusted loved ones know how to log in to your Apple account. And there have been some horror stories recently. This was, I think, in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, about people who have their iPhone stolen. That's not so terrifying. I mean, it sucks. But what's really terrifying is if someone films you entering your passcode on your iPhone and then they steal it, within like 5 minutes, they can change all of your Apple settings and lock you out. And there's some horror stories there. So just be really careful about your 6-digit code. And we use Face ID, but if you're wearing a mask, it often doesn't work. So I find myself entering my code on my phone. So now I'm a lot more careful. Make sure it's a longer string of digits, not just the 4 digits. In Apple, you can designate a legacy contact. What do you do? So it's from the settings on your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, under the password and security setting. And now, if you name someone as a legacy contact, they can access your photos, your messages, your notes, your files, your apps, and your device backups without knowing your Apple ID or password. They cannot access movies, music, or books you've purchased. And I think that just goes to the licensing information. When you get those, you're licensing it to yourself. You do not own the content you are licensing from Apple or Google or these places. As we have to keep in mind, you don't own it. So it's really important to create that legacy contact. 3 steps for how to do that. You designate it from the settings on your iPhone, iPad, or iMac under password and security. So you go to password and security and you select legacy contact and you name them. Now you have to notify them. You have the option of notifying them via messages when you add them. And if they have to accept it. And if they accept it, they automatically, and this is kind of crazy, get a copy of a new 88-character access key stored in their Apple ID settings. It automatically goes to their Apple ID settings. And how do they access this 88-digit character access key if they need it? Well, they can tap their name, then password and security, and then legacy contact. And they should have access to that 88-character code. They can also keep track of it safely separately. They don't have to rely on that. So when they get it, they can also just take a photo and keep that in a safe place, or write it down and keep it in a safe. If you pass away, what do? Well, your digital king must produce a death certificate along with this 88-character alphanumeric access key generated when you name them as a contact. You can name them, but maybe it's good or bad depending on your view of the security side of this. That the good thing is it's a little bit harder for someone to get access. You can't just name them and they get access. They have to have this super long 88-character alphanumeric key to get access to your account. But keep in mind, they don't get access to a lot of the music and movies you might have purchased through Apple. So as of now, LinkedIn does not really have the ability to name a legacy contact. Really, your authorized representative, they have to be named in as a digital executor in your local living trust and will. They can go to LinkedIn and say, hey, this person passed away. There's really 2 options. They can request to memorialize an account, where it just becomes a memorial and nothing new can be done with the account. It's just there, or they can close it out. And if they are not authorized in your legal documents, well, someone can report that you've passed away. It can really only be deleted at that point. If you want someone to be able to actively manage it, if you're a LinkedIn influencer, you have lots of followers, it's really tricky. Maybe you don't want anybody to let LinkedIn know that you've passed away and you want your representatives to continue to use your profile to drum up business. Now, technically, that's probably a violation of the license. So you'd have to they would shut you down if they found out. So I hope that was helpful for LinkedIn. What do we need to do to make sure our digital and online accounts are safe if we're incapacitated or after we pass away? You need to update your estate plan, because if you don't have the right people authorized from a legal perspective, you don't have a bequest plan that goes over all your assets, can be an absolute mess, even beyond the challenges that it already presents. You need to update your estate plan, update your revocable living trust, update your durable power of attorney, and just make sure people that you trust are named to step in for you, and make sure you've done sophisticated planning. If you have a larger estate, you need to talk to us about asset protection and tax planning. But even from a digital asset side, make sure your plan is up to date. And if it's been a few years since you addressed it, it may not have the right language addressing digital assets, and you might have the wrong people named. Do you have the right people named? Do they even know that they have access to the legacy contact or anything like that to your accounts? Do they know where to get information about your accounts and where that list is? Think about not just your digital accounts. There might be a lot of value there. Maybe you've created businesses from your online accounts. Where are those businesses going? And are you protecting assets from divorce and lawsuits for your kids? There are incredible things we can do from an estate planning perspective. And take the steps we've outlined here. Again, you need to make a list of all your online accounts, store login and password information in a very secure place. You might want to consider using a password manager for this. And some of the password managers, LastPass, OnePass, have their own internal ways to designate, to give access to family members or representatives in a pinch. But each online account has their own policies around this. So take a fresh look. It's always good. Their policies change over time. So this was a snapshot when we presented this. And you can, of course, meet with us to coordinate all of your estate planning. This is all piece of the pie. Our online lives are increasingly part of our lives. So we want to make sure that your overall estate plan is really covered. If you have a kid with a disability, you don't want assets going to them. You want to go into a special needs trust. If you're worried about divorce and lawsuits for your kids, we need to set up a dynasty trust for them. So many other pieces to the puzzle, and we can be part of that team. If you want to contact us, it's gilfix.com. But I hope you got a lot out of this. Share this video, and I hope everybody's staying safe, sane, and healthy. And I hope we get a chance to work with you and your family.